Whether in the spotlight or behind the scenes, Joe Mantello knows how to make magic. He's wowed live audiences in productions of Angels in America and The Normal Heart, and more recently got homebound binge watchers hooked on Netflix's Hollywood. Now streaming is a stellar new film version of the Tony-winning revival of The Boys in the Band, which he directed both on stage and on screen. Hear his thoughts on opening night of Wicked, why he hasn't binged Hollywood, and more on this week's Show People. Hey Joe, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I have to tell you, I love this new Boys in the Band film. Boys in the Band is this interesting title for me because I went from kind of being afraid of it when I was younger to sort of liking it. And then I really loved what you did on Broadway. And now I just feel like this new production just takes it to a whole new level. So congratulations. I think it's really stunning and people are going to love it. So it's quite an achievement.
Thank you. I hope so.
I mean, this is your second, right, feature film. I also love Our Compassion. That was a long time ago.
There's a long span of time there, yeah.
Had you hoped to direct another film, or was this just all sort of part of the package deal that came with doing this with Ryan Murphy and, you know, with this amazing cast?
Yeah, it's never really been something that I consciously sought out. It was an interesting but complicated experience shooting Love Valor for a number of reasons, none having to do with the actors. And so I never really, after that experience, I never really pursued it. And when Ryan and I were first talking about doing a revival of Boys in the Band, he had always imagined that the culmination of this project that we would do together would be a film. So I guess I just put it out of my head until, months after the show had closed on Broadway. And he said, okay, now it's time to start talking about the film.
I remember when it was first announced, I think that Ryan got the rights to Boys in the Band. I remember sort of jokingly saying like, well, there's all these amazing actors that are part of like sort of the Ryan Murphy stable. So what was the process like of finding this group? And they're all openly gay, which is just sort of the frosting on the cake. It sort of makes it a special. It makes it special.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing I love about Ryan and the way that he works is it's really like a very, an old-fashioned like ensemble situation like that we know in the theater. And what you get with that is you get people who understand that he's in it for the long haul with them, and he's pushing them to do things that they wouldn't necessarily be thought of, And so I love that way of working. I like to work with people that I know. A lot of these guys were my friends before this project. And we sort of just went character by character and talked about who we thought might be the best, most interesting choice for the role.
David Zinn made a beautiful, beautiful set for Broadway. The first thing, and I hope that set has been rebuilt. I hope you have it in your home. I hope that is I hope you're living in it, because I would love to live in that set. The first thing I noticed about the film is that it's not that. David Zinn created this beautiful escapist world for the boys to have their birthday party in. It's more realistic on screen. Was that to me was the most striking thing as a fan of the stage production.
The decision that we made for the revival was, obviously it has to be set in 1968, right? What we tried to do was to also give it a kind of a timeless quality, or so that, it was never my intention or David's intention that anyone think that Michael lived in a, all red lacquered apartment, that there was supposed to be something slightly abstract about that space, so that the actors popped in front of it. But it was never, the intention was never to think like, God, this guy really loves cranberry. But that the one thing that you would feel is every time you opened the door, there was a very realistic and harsh hallway light
Yeah.
out there, so that the kind of the reality existed outside of the door. I'm
Hmm.
not so sure that that would be the best choice for the film, and so we wanted to find something that was extremely detailed, that revealed Michael's kind of obsessive quality in terms of collecting things. We worked from Mart's original screenplay. And I think it was his idea back in 1969 to add that space of the terrace. And it does something really nice in that the film, the first few shots of the film, you really see all of the characters out into the world. Then they kind of
Right.
come to the apartment, and there's a lot of space in the apartment. And there's a terrace, and there's an upstairs, and there's a downstairs, and there's a kitchen, and there's a wraparound portion of it. And then a storm comes, and then they're all in the room. And so it kind of works its way inward, and the compression starts. And I just thought that was really, really smart, a smart choice on his part, so that you didn't have the kind of a kind of a monotony didn't set in of just being in that one living room the whole time.
The new film also mirrors the original in that the original film reunited the stage cast. What was it like for you to watch the film? And did you have a history with it? And did you watch it again before jumping into this new film?
My first exposure to it was when I was in college, and it was upsetting, and it was terrifying,
Yeah.
especially to someone who was just starting to come out and experience what that world was. It felt like, well, more than a cautionary tale. It just felt like, wow, is this going to be my life? And
Right.
and then I've encountered it along the way over the years, and I grew to like it. But my appreciation for Mart's work has really grown exponentially, especially over the last few years. I think it's beautifully crafted. I think that there is a sense of a timelessness to it, that he gets at something about a gay identity, which was true in 1968 and is true in some form now. I mean, not every element, but certainly there's a lot of it that still rings true. When we were working on the play, one of the things that I said to Ryan was, I'd like to do it all in one act. And because though I think the play is still resonant, playwriting has advanced in the 50 years since this play was written. And
Sure.
that certainly I thought that there was a little bit of trimming that we could do. And when he spoke to Mart's representatives, they said, "Oh, in fact, Mart has done a sort of a compressed version of it." So I looked at that, and then at that point, I went back to the film because I think they made even further edits to it,
Right.
and so we took some of those, we discarded some of those, we put other things back. So really, what you see in our version is a kind of an amalgam of lots of different versions.
Some moments, especially in the last third of this script, that are still just sort of like, wow. I mean, visceral moments. Michael's final monologue and what Harold tells Michael as he's exiting. These are the kind of things that, for me, as someone like you said, I also saw it when I was in college and just coming out and wanting to feel fantastic about everything, and then you sort of see these guys, talking about, you hate yourself and the self-loathing, and it really did kind of have that funk on it. This play, I feel like it really did. And over the last few decades, there have been a few different productions that have come along, and I feel like people have kind of been grappling with it. And it's so fascinating to me that I'm able to sort of just look at it differently. And I wonder, maybe it's just my own sort of where I am at my life. I wonder what I would see it now as a 20-year-old. It'd be interesting to see sort of what the different generations, how they'll react to the film. Do you ever think about what you would be like at that time period if you were one of these guys? You've done a bunch of. I want to talk about your amazing work in Hollywood as well. You've been able to play some of these gay guys in different times of the world, which is such a beautiful thing to get to do. I think, to explore these lives. Do you ever wonder, like, who would you have been at that party? Which of those guys? Did you ever think about that? What life would have been like?
Uh, I mean, I see aspects of myself in many of them. The thing about this play is that everybody says the same thing. It's about gay self-loathing, as if that's the only thing
Right.
that it's about. And in working on it, I certainly found that to be true. But I also found little moments of tenderness and forgiveness and grace and uh, heroism, like in it. And and I thought it's interesting that these guys get painted with this brush of and dismissed as just like as somehow there's a failure of character, like, oh, they're just self-loathing queens. And I think, well, what's the world that they're living in, right? They're living in a world where they're told they have no value, that the person that they love, they're a degenerate for loving the person that they love. And these are the messages that are coming at them every day. And I think, well, what does one do in the face of that? How does one react? And I think on a scale, there, certainly with Michael being the person who struggles most with a kind of self-loathing, but I think there are characters in it like Emery who I find terribly courageous, who are unapologetically who they are in the world. And so to say that it is exclusively a piece about self-loathing, I think is lazy, and also it's not giving Mart his due.
Talk about Mart a little bit. Obviously, we lost him. Um, while you were, I think he was on set. I'm assuming while you were filming some of this.
Yes, we had him. He came out for about a week, and we celebrated his birthday. Pretty sure,
Mm.
and it was great to have him there that week. And I regret that it's the only experience of it that he got to have, but he certainly sat next to me and watched the monitor and watched as we were filming it. So I think I think he had a really good idea of what we were doing. I mean, he was remarkable. I mean, as a collaborator, he was incredibly generous. He was trusting. He was an incredible resource, and he was just kind and funny and smart. And he was kind of like a role model on how one lives their life. Uh, and we really missed him. He was so generous to all of those actors, because I know that a lot of them reached out to him. And Jim Parsons shared an email exchange that they had. And I think Jim's question was really simple, which was, what are the movies that Michael would watch, and trying to kind of get some information on that. And Mark wrote these long emails that someone should publish someday, just
Wow.
about just taking Jim through all of these movies and genres, and really funny and really smart, and just like a treasure trove of information for an actor. And that's who he was. He had that kind of generosity.
Yeah. I love that he got to go out on this high the last few years of his life. He actually came to Broadway.com the week before the Tony Awards, and he was so funny. He was terrified when I told him that if you guys won Best Revival of a Play, which of course you did, that he would have to speak. And he was just like, I'm not speaking. I mean, it was like the most horrifying thing I could have. And of course, he spoke, and it was beautiful, and it was just
Just he was absolutely great. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, but he has like he's in two shots of the film. When Andrew and the young man are in Julius right at the beginning, we put Mart at the end of the bar.
I missed that. Okay, I'm gonna go watch it
If you
again.
see it again, he's in the background of Andrew's shot, And then when we cut in close on Tuck, we kept him in the frame, so you see him there. And
Amazing.
so, not only is the film dedicated to him, but he's there, he's in it, and his spirit is in it, and he's, it's our little nod to him.
I love it. Spot Mart. I'm into it. Like I said, I also loved you in Hollywood. You were Dick Samuel, a guy that was so in the closet, grappling with so much. I love when you act. I know you're a very talented director. I love many of your plays you've directed and musicals. Some of them are big. Some we know really well. But I first fell in love with you as an actor. Angels in America was so huge for me, and I just saw it at the perfect time in my life. So I love when you act. So I love when you do that. So please do that every once in a while. What made you want to? Why did you choose to do it again for that? Obviously, we saw you in The Normal Heart, but what about Hollywood made you want to jump in? The costumes.
Yeah,
costumes.
I mean, it was a total surprise. It was, that this is how it sort of works with Ryan, is that one day he springs something on you, and you're so blindsided by it that it's slightly disorienting, and you think like, well, and he's very persuasive. Ryan is hard to resist, and but. The only thing that I knew was the character's name and what he did at the studio. And there wasn't much of a storyline at that point. Jim knew he was playing Henry Wilson, so he could start to, do some research. But I just trusted Ryan, and it was an amazing experience. I'm glad I did it.
It's crazy when you think that you've had Boys in the Band, Normal Heart, Angels in America, all part of your life. I mean, it's kind of like the trifecta of these. You could argue those are sort of the three most. I mean, Love, Hour, Compassion is also another huge moment in gay theater. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy when you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, when you have that kind of perspective on it, but obviously at the time those were not deliberate choices in terms of my life's work is going to be to do the gay canon. It's just worked out that way, and I'm pleased and proud that it has, that will be part of, if I'm remembered for anything, that will be a part of my narrative. So yes, I'm very pleased with that.
I looked back on an interview that I did with your classmate, Marin Mazzie, the great late Marin Mazzie, and she told me about Haas. Haas. Talk about Haas. Was that his name, Haas? There was a show you guys did, and you were, of course, acting with Marin. It was like a combination of The Wizard of Oz and Spock. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Talk about this iconic performance.
Yes, very iconic performance. Well, Marin and I did our first play together, which was, ironically, The Wizard of Oz, and we were both Munchkins. And then we went to the same high school, and our high school every year did what was essentially, I mean, I don't want to say talent show, but it was essentially like this review, and it was called, you ready? Pizzazz. And so it would be like Pizzazz 81 or
got it.
Or, Pizzazz. And one year there was and it didn't really have a storyline. It usually had a theme, but one year they decided that it was going to have a kind of a Star Trek theme. And
Sure.
So Spock and Kirk crash onto this planet of all women, and I was a character who lived. I was a character who lived on that planet named Kaz, K-A-Z, and I had learned to speak by watching The Wizard of Oz, and so every one of my lines was a line from The Wizard of Oz, and then I, in fact, had to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not good. It was really, I mean, it was truly awful. But yeah, that was Pizzazz. What would it have been? Pizzazz 79 or something like that.
79. That was the year to be there. And did you share these memories when you gathered your cast of Wicked and said, let me talk. I know of Oz. Let me tell you on. Let me sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow for you all. Didn't
I've
happen.
actually put it out of my head. But I was thinking about it recently because someone sent me a video of and then by the way, the finale was everybody doing a kind of jazz dance to "Gonna Fly Now," the theme from Rocky. I mean, it was a mess. But so someone sent me a video of that choreography, and I said, I actually still remember some of it.
What was that boy extremely driven to get to New York and to do this and to be a part of this theater world?
Definitely driven to be a part of theater. I was lucky. The town that I grew up in, Rockford, Illinois, had a lot of theater, and so I did a lot of theater growing up,
Yeah.
from middle school to high school, and so it was a natural transition that would be something that I wanted to do. I mean, initially I didn't want to come to New York. I thought that I wanted to go to the Actors Theater of Louisville because I was very interested in new plays. And at the time, they were really the sort of the epicenter of new play development. And so that's where I thought I would end up. But at the last minute, I did kind of a left-hand turn and ended up coming to New York.
You directed a show called Wicked. People are desperate for it to come back to Broadway. The creation of Wicked was not a slam dunk. Just from your out of town to Broadway with cast changes. Did you always sort of know that it had the goods, or were you ever worried about Wicked?
I mean, somewhere in
And a lot of pressure on your name, by the way, as a director. I mean, you directed a bunch at that time, but that was a huge project.
Yeah. I I guess I thought somewhere in between that I was destabilized as one is when you're working on a new musical because it is always just you know the stories are legion of what it's like out of town. It's just it's brutal. It's really really brutal and
Yeah.
difficult and. It's like this thing that doesn't want to come out of it, this beast that doesn't want to come out of a cave, and you're all pulling it out, and it's resisting. So there, that part is difficult. I mean, I did feel that I thought it was a great idea for a musical, and then it was incumbent upon us to shape it so that it was the very very best version of itself, and. Certainly that first draft in San Francisco, we learned a lot. And, my hat's off to Stephen Schwartz because he was the one that really insisted that there be a 3-month layoff after that engagement so that we could go back and work on it. When quite often, the Broadway run will follow directly after the out of town engagement. And he felt very strongly that we needed that time to kind of step back, reflect, and then make some smart choices. But I mean, I remember on opening night, not feeling like we were done, that there was still a lot more that we could do to hone it and keep refining it. And in fact, we got to do that when we went to London and mounted that production. And we had, I think we were there 10 weeks total. And we made a lot of what I would say are significant, but tiny changes that affected it. Like little things that were just little detail things that affected it. And then we came back and then put those changes into the other companies. So
Right.
it was. I felt fortunate that we had a kind of an opportunity to go back and revisit it once we knew that it was stable, that it would be around for a while, and that we could, make smart choices based on what we knew. It's been running long enough now that we actually have people in the show who say, "This was my first Broadway show," or "I saw this on
Right.
tour when it came to my town and I really wanted to be in it." And that's one of the wonderful things about a long running show is that, those actors who were, just kids are now, playing
Yeah.
Glinda. And
Yeah.
so it's great.
Are there any moments that you just always love, surefire moments in that show that you just sort of love to experience?
What I really love is when the actors. It's interesting because when you have a long running show like that, I mean, there's obviously a formula that you have to honor to keep it running, and people come in and out at different times, and put-ins are happening all the time, and so there's a kind of a shorthand sometimes of in terms of the rehearsal period, and a Glinda may be rehearsing with the standby Elphaba. There's a really truncated process that the actors have to sometimes go through. So what I love is after they've been in it a while, when they, that you see them and they're operating within the structure that exists, but when they bring their own idiosyncratic take on it, like to go and watch a Megan Hilty carve that role out and completely make it her own, and yet,
Right.
she's existing within a structure that has to be honored, but she's found all of these little moments that are unique to her. That's always thrilling to me. I always get it's a little disheartening when I feel like the actors haven't been given the kind of liberty to kind of make it their own.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's a complicated system to keep a long running show in shape. So
It feels like you have had the opportunity to do so many kinds of things too. I mean, such a range of titles, musicals, and plays. Is there anything you're dying to do, or anything that I don't know? It seems like you can kind of do whatever you want. Is that true? Can you just wake up and go, I want to do this, and probably find a way to get it done?
I would say that is untrue. Yes, I don't think that I can just do what I want. I mean, I've been fortunate in the last several years to have a creative partner in Scott Rudin. And so a lot of it is generated from Scott. And but I don't really get offered that many projects. As far as like, I'm not a person. I guess I should have a list of. I wanted to do Virginia Woolf. I did want to do Virginia Woolf with Laurie, so that was always on the list.
And of course, it got shut down.
We did nine previews, and it's a mountain of a play. That was disappointing, but.
What's it been like for you to watch what's been going on with Broadway over the last 6 months, and people sort of looking ahead and not knowing, what the future holds? Where's your head at about all of this as a leader in this industry that people love so much?
I think that the shutdown has caused me to really reflect on what it is that I want to do in the time that I have left, both in my life and in my career. I feel like I've been incredibly fortunate over the years and have worked on some extraordinary projects with incredible artists. And so, I don't want to do this forever. I've been enjoying sort of quiet time, and I think I just want to sort of sit back and see what happens. I think the landscape is going to be radically altered if and when we come back in the next year, and so I want to see what that is and see if I still have a place in it. I think it's mostly been a time of reflection.
you're so prolific that there's always a Joe Mantello show coming down the pike. And it's actually been, I really wanted to see a Virginia Woolf. I suddenly want to see Wicked again really badly. I mean, all these things are sort of like, it's like comfort food, right? We want to like sort of, we want to take these things in and see what it's like to experience them. But boys, I'm so thrilled about Boys in the Band. I'm so thrilled that it is on September 30th. Everyone needs to watch on Netflix. You can watch it over and over. And you can watch Hollywood too. You can, I mean, there's so many things you could do.
I have not watched Hollywood, but one could watch Hollywood.
You haven't watched any of it?
It was such a remarkable experience, and it was so fun that I can't imagine. I don't want anything to mess with the version of it that's in my head, because the version of it that's in my head is really outstanding. And, if I ever do this again, if I ever act again on camera, I don't want to be self-conscious. And I know that talking to you now, I'm looking at myself thinking like, is that what my hand does? My hair is like that. Those are my, and I don't want to, I want to just kind of go in and, just not be self-conscious about it.
Right.
And I know that if I watch it, I will not like it. And I like it right now in my brain. I really like it.
Okay, you know what? You don't watch it, but everybody else should. Everyone else should watch Hollywood and Boys in the Band and do a whole Joe Mantello festival on Netflix. It's possible. Thank you so much, Joe. I've been wanting to do a long interview with you like this for a long time. So thank you for finding. It took the pandemic to make it happen, but I'm glad it did.